Hi, dear children. Welcome back to my English class. In the previous class, we have discussed about the story of a famous writer, Y.K. Muhammad Bashir. Which was that story? Yes, the rightful inheritors of the earth. In that story, he tells that this earth is for all, not only for human being, but also for all the creatures. That means all the creatures, each and every creature has its own right to live on this earth. That means all are equally important in this world, in this earth. That is the theme of that story. Okay? Now let's go deep into the nature. For this, we should learn about the lovers of nature. Can you tell the name of any lover of nature? And do you know who is the first Prime Minister of India? Who was the first Prime Minister of India? Can you tell? Shall I give you a clue? He was a freedom fighter. Now can you tell? Then one more clue I am going to give you. With that clue, I am sure you can tell it very easily. His birthday is on November 14th. Yes, I know. Everyone know it. That is Chachaji or Jawaharlal Nehru. He was the first Prime Minister of India. Why do we celebrate November 14th as the Children's Day? Yes, he was a great fond of love towards the children. He loved the children very much. His thought was, these children are the builders of the future earth, or they decide how will be the earth in the future. They decide it. The children are the builders of the future earth. Okay, now I think all of you see there is a flower, rose flower in his pocket. Now a lot of stories are behind it. Then one of them tells that this he resembles the children with the rose flower. Now the children are as soft as this flower or as beautiful as this flower. And a lot of other stories are also behind it. Okay. Now, who is the daughter of Jawaharlal Nehru? You know? Yes, Indira Gandhi. Who was Indira Gandhi? You know? Yes, Indira Gandhi was the first lady Prime Minister of India. Okay. Now, father and this daughter, they always talk about many things. She used to ask a lot of questions time to time, and the father used to reply each and every questions time to time. Okay, now they then after in 1928 they separated. Then Indira Gandhi was at Missouri, and Jawaharlal Nehru, her father, was in Allahabad. Then why they are separated, you know? Yes, he was a freedom fighter too. Now in that freedom struggle, British people imprisoned him in Allahabad. So he had to separate, he had to leave the daughter Indiraji. Even though he was in jail, he used to write the letters to Indiraji from time to time. She was always asking about many doubts on different things, and he used to give the reply too. Did you write the letter to anyone? What's a letter? What's the use of a letter? Yes, letter is also used for conveying the messages or informing the matters to others. Okay? Nowadays, it is very easy to convey the messages through the mobile phone. All of you use the mobile phone very easily. Now, it is the easiest way to convey the messages. But in olden days, all these facilities are were not available. they used to write the letters to all the people to convey the messages. Okay, now here is the letter, the letter's name, that is the Book of Nature. Now that is a letter of father to a child, to his daughter. Her father, Jawaharlal Nehru, he was in jail and he wrote this letter to his daughter Indiraji. She was in Mussoorie. Okay, that is the letter about the nature. Okay, all of you take your book, take Book of Nature in page number 89. If you take page number 89, look at the book very carefully. Then I'll read first. All of you read along with me, and after my reading, you pause my video and read the same paragraph 2 or 3 times yourself. Okay? The Book of Nature. When you and I are together, you often ask me questions about many things and I try to answer them. Now that you are at Mussoorie and I am in Allahabad, we cannot have these talks. I am therefore going to write to you from time to time short account of the story of our earth. I am afraid I can only tell you very little in these letters of mine, but that little, I hope, will interest you and make you think of the world as a whole and of other people in it as our brothers and sisters. When you grow up, you'll read about the story of the earth and her people in fact books. You will find it more interesting than any other story or novel that you may have read. Okay? Now in this paragraph, I think no new words are there, and you need not to find out the meaning of the new words in this paragraph. Now let's go to the next paragraph. Take page number 90. The next page. You read the history in books. But in old times, when men did not exist, surely no books could have been written. How then can we find out what happens then? We cannot merely sit down and imagine everything. This would be very interesting, for we could imagine anything we wanted to and would thus make up the most beautiful fairy tales. But this need not be true, as it would not be based on any fact that we had seen. But although we had no books written in those far off days, fortunately we have some things which tell us the great deal as well, almost as a book would. We have rocks and mountains and seas and stars and rivers and deserts and fossils of all animals. These and other like things are our books for the Earth's early story. And the real way to understand the story is not merely to read about it in other people's book, but to go to the great book of nature itself. You will, I hope, soon begin to learn how to read this story from the rocks and mountains. Imagine how fascinating it is. Every little stone that you see lying on the road or the mountainside may be a little page in the nature's book. Okay, now in this page only a few new words are there. The first one, that is the fossils of old animals, and the other things, fascinating. And fortunately, one more is the fortunately. Here, fortunately. That's all for the new words. Now let's go to the next page. All of you pause my video and read the same page 2 or 3 times. After that, go to the next page. Okay? Okay, did you finish your reading? What did you get from your reading? What are there in that letter? Yes, in that letter, Nehru told that I can give you very little in this letter. Whenever you grow up, you can read a lot of things, the story of the earth from the fat books. But through this letter, I can give you only few things. Okay? The things that I give you, that is very interesting. And where do you get the story from? We get the story in the history of the earth that we get from the books. ഓക്കെ, സാധാരണ നമുക്ക് നമ്മുടെ പണ്ടുള്ള കാലത്തെക്കുറിച്ചൊക്കെ കിട്ടുന്നത് ഹിസ്റ്ററിയിൽ നിന്നാണ്. ബുക്ക്, ആ ചരിത്രം നമുക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നത് പല ബുക്കുകളിൽ നിന്നുമാണ്. ബട്ട് ഇൻ ഓൾ ടൈംസ് വെൻ men did not exist, no books could have been written. ആളുകളില്ല, മനുഷ്യന്മാരില്ലാത്തൊരു കാലം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നില്ലേ? അപ്പോൾ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ബുക്ക് ഉണ്ടാവുക? ആരാ ബുക്ക് എഴുതുക? ഇല്ലല്ലോ. സോ വെൻ men did not exist, no books could have been written. Then how could we get the information about the story of the earth? From where did you get it? No books are there. Books illa. And how did we get it? Yes, we get the story from the things in the earth. A lot of things are there in the earth. These stories are not a fairy tale. The fairy tales are imaginary. But this story, these are real story. As there were no books, how can we get the information about the past? Unfortunately, we have some things in the earth, such as rocks, mountains, rivers, desert, stars, skies, fossils, animals, etc. The real way to understand the earth is not merely to read the books of the people, but go to the nature. Study the nature. Understand the nature. How can you study the nature? How do you study the nature? എങ്ങനെയാണ് നമുക്ക് നേച്ചറിനെ പഠിക്കുക? We study the books, but how can we study the nature? Study the nature means observe the nature. Through the keen observation or the deep observation. നന്നായിട്ട് നിരീക്ഷിക്കുക. Through the keen observation of the things, each and everything. A lot of things are there in this earth. Now to observe each and everything very deeply. വളരെ ഡീപ്പായിട്ട് ഓരോ സാധനത്തെയും ഓരോ വസ്തുവിനെയും നമ്മൾ ഒബ്സർവ് ചെയ്യുക. Then we get the information from that observation. Okay? Now here, nature is a great book. A great book. A lot of things are there in that book. We should study each and everything in that book. It has a lot of pages. Which are the pages of that book? You know? Yes, the pages are plants, animals, stars, desert, river, rocks, mountains, stones, sand, etc. All these are the pages of this book. You should learn each and every pages very well. Okay? To learn a language, what do you need? To learn a language, yes, we need the alphabets or the letters to learn a language. Here, we should learn each and everything. These things are the alphabets. ഇവിടെ കാണുന്ന ഓരോ സാധനങ്ങൾ, ഓരോ വസ്തുവും, അതാണ് നമ്മളുടെ alphabets. We should learn each and every alphabets, such as the things what are there in this earth. We should learn each and every alphabets very well. Then only we can study that book. Okay? Take next page, page number 91. At the first top paragraph. Okay. The nature's book and may be able to tell you something if you only knew how to read it. To be able to read any language, Hindi or Urdu or English, you have to learn its alphabet. So also you must learn the alphabet of nature before you can read her story in her books of stone and rock. Even now, perhaps you know a little how to read this. Okay, in this paragraph, no new words are there. Okay. നേച്ചർ എന്ന വലിയൊരു പുസ്തകമാണ് ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ പറയുന്നത്. വലിയൊരു പുസ്തകം, അതായത് അവിടെ ഇങ്ങനെ എന്താ പറയുക, വിശാലമായി കിടക്കുന്ന ഒരു പുസ്തകമാണ് നേച്ചർ. അതിലുള്ള ഓരോ ആൽഫബറ്റ്സ് പേജസ് ആണ് ഇവിടെ കാണുന്ന ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറി തിങ്സ്. ഓക്കെ, നൗ വി ഷുഡ് ലേൺ ഓർ സ്റ്റഡി ദീസ് തിങ്സ് ഓർ ദീസ് ആൽഫബറ്റ്സ് വെരി വെൽ. Otherwise, we can't get the history of these things, the history of the earth. Okay? Now listen, I'll show you a picture. Look at the picture. That's a picture of a pebble. What do you mean by pebble? Yes, വെള്ളാരങ്കല്ല് എന്ന് പറയും. Now it looks like very shiny and smooth. How did it form like this? What is the history behind it? എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ രൂപത്തിലായി വന്നത്? What is the history? So you should learn about that stone or the pebble. Now let's go to that textbook once again. Take page number 91. That there is a story of that pebble. Okay. Now the same page number 91. Here's the story of the pebble. All of you look at the book very carefully and read along with me. After my reading, pause my video and read 2 or 3 times. Read yourself 2 or 3 times. Okay. If you see a little round shiny pebble, does it not tell you something? How did it get round and smooth and shiny without any corners or rough edges? If you break a big rock into small bits, each bit is rough and has corners or rough edges. It is not at all like a round, smooth pebble. How then did the pebble become so round and smooth and shiny? It will tell you its story if you have good eyes to see and ears to hear it. It tells you that once upon a time, it may be long ago, it was a bit of rock, just like the bit you may break from a big rock or stone with plenty of edges and corners. Probably it rested on some mountainside. Then came the rain and washed it down to the little valley where it found a mountain stream, which pushed it on and on till it reached a little river. And the little river took it to the big river. And all the while it rolled at the bottom of the river, and its edges were worn away. Thus the rough surface was made smooth and shiny. So it became the pebble that you see. Somehow the river left it behind and you found it. If the river had carried it on, it would have become smaller and smaller till at last it became a grain of sand or joined its brothers at the seaside to make a beautiful beach where little children can play and make castles out of the sand. If a little pebble can tell you so much, how much more could we learn from all the rocks and mountains and the many other things we see round us? Okay, in this page, there are only few new words. Take your pen and underline. Now here the pebble. Here is the pebble. Underline the word pebble. And next the edges. And the next one, that is, rolled. Another one, that is, castles. Here, castles. That's all the new words. You should find out the meaning of these words from the glossary behind this lesson or the end of this lesson, or from the dictionary at your home, or search in the Google. Okay? Now you read the same paragraph 2 or 3 times. Okay? Now Okay, have you read that story? The story of the pebble? How did it form like this? It's a beautiful, smooth and shiny pebble. Once upon a time, this pebble was a bit of rock or a piece of rock broken from a big rock. Sometimes it may be broken through the earthquake or the volcano. Earthquake. Anyway, it was a bit of rock, a piece of stone. Now its edges was very sharp, curved and sharp ends. It rested on the mountainside. When the rain came, the rainwater washed it down to the valley. And from the valley, the mountain stream washed it down again and again, and it reached the river. And from that river, the flowing water again washed it down to the another river, from there to the another river and to the big river. On rolling down through this flowing water, it hit here and there. It edges hit here and there. Then it edges became smooth. നമ്മളൊരു കൂർത്ത കല്ലെടുത്തിട്ട് അതിൻ്റെ കൂർത്ത ഭാഗം ഏതെങ്കിലും ഒരു സർഫസിൽ വെച്ച് റബ്ബ് ചെയ്തുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ that end will become very smooth. Okay, see this rock is a very small bit of rock. Now you can see the sharp end and the edges, curved edges and sharp edges. Okay, now when this rock rolled down through the flowing water under the bottom of the water, through the bottom of the water, now these edges hit here and there, and these edges become more smooth and shiny. ഓക്കെ, നമ്മളിതൊരു ഭാഗത്ത് വെച്ച് എവിടെയെങ്കിലും ഇങ്ങനെ ഉരസി നമ്മളിങ്ങനെ റബ്ബ് ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ഈ എഡ്ജസ് എല്ലാം സ്മൂത്താക്കി എടുക്കാൻ പറ്റും. ഇത് നാച്ചുറലി അവിടെ ആരും റബ്ബ് ചെയ്യുകയല്ല ചെയ്യുന്നത്, നാച്ചുറൽ റബ്ബിംഗ് ആണ് നടക്കുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, ദ റെയിൻ വാട്ടർ, ഫ്ലോയിങ് വാട്ടർ, എവറിത്തിങ് മേക്ക് ഇറ്റ് smooth and shiny. Okay, and edges also became smooth, and it lies in the river, left it behind the bank of the river. Okay, if the river had carried it again, it will become the smaller and smaller size. Okay, at last it became a grain of sand at the river bank or the seashore. That was the story of the pebble. Okay, ഇങ്ങനെ ഓരോ ഇവിടെ നേച്ചറിലുള്ള ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറിത്തിങ് ഹാസ് ദ സ്റ്റോറി ബിഹൈൻഡ്. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഈ ഓരോ വസ്തുവും ഈ ഒരു ലെവലിലേക്ക് എത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്? ഫോർ ദിസ് വി ഷുഡ് ലേൺ ഈച്ച് ആൻഡ് എവറിത്തിങ് വെരി വെൽ. You should observe very deep. You should need a keen observation. വളരെ സൂക്ഷ്മമായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ നിരീക്ഷണം ഉണ്ടെങ്കിൽ മാത്രമേ ഇതിൻ്റെ സ്റ്റോറി നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റുള്ളൂ. ഓക്കെ, നൗ ലുക്ക് അറ്റ് ദ വീഡിയോ. Just like each and everything in this earth has its own story. So you should observe everything in this earth very deeply and try to find out its origin. Okay, that's all for today. Now let's do all the activities in the next class. Okay, thank you.